Death is not the opposite of life. It is a part of it. Amidst the clamor of modern society, where life is standardized as a series of goals to be achieved, death remains a stubborn blind spot. We avoid looking at it as if avoiding a crack in a windshield, fearing that if we stare too long, the glass will shatter and reality will crumble. But if death is not the opposite of life, what lies between these two poles? If death is not an endpoint, but a silent process that accompanies every living breath, then we have fundamentally misunderstood the entire nature of our existence. This book does not aspire to answer metaphysical questions, nor does it seek cheap comfort for those grappling with the pain of loss. It does not invoke philosophy, nor does it cite theology. It simply extends an invitation to look at death not with fearful eyes, not with processed beliefs, but with the quiet honesty of someone weary of endless avoidance. Have you ever sat with your own fear, not to overcome it, but to listen to it speak what has never been said? Have you ever wondered why death, the only certainty in life, is what we understand the least? If not, perhaps this is the time not to learn how to die, but to learn how to live differently. Humans do not fear death because it is unfamiliar. They fear death because it is too close. From the very first breath, death begins. Every second, every minute, they slide closer to the end. But instead of facing it directly, they turn away. They pretend it doesn't exist. They create religions, philosophies, laws, sciences, love, family, all to conceal one single truth, that they will die. I have met countless people who live as if they will live forever, yet they are the most panicked when they hear they are about to die. At that moment, all the games they played accumulating, controlling, asserting themselves suddenly become meaningless. Death collapses the entire ego structure they built over many lifetimes. It is the ultimate disruptor. No one escapes it. Let me tell you the story of Gati. A king in the city-state of Shat, he lived a life full of desires and lust for power, and when death knocked, he was still unprepared. Instead of accepting it, he pleaded with his sons to cede a portion of their lifespan to him, and one agreed. Gati lived for hundreds more years, wandering everywhere, tasting every earthly pleasure. But then, after all that, he exclaimed, "Have I lived enough? No." And in that moment, he understood. One can never live enough if one lives only to avoid dying. Death is not something that happens at the very end. It's not at the end of the road, it's present in every step. It is the negative space of life, the shadow that accompanies the light. But society has created a culture where death is buried. In the West, people don't talk about death. They hide the deceased, adorn corpses to look as if they're sleeping, and call death passing on. In the East, though death is spoken of more, it's often with a sense of gloom, heaviness, and tragedy. Neither understands what death truly is. Death is not gloomy. Death is not a disaster. Death is a sacred moment. If you have lived correctly, it can be the greatest flowering moment of your entire life. Just as a lotus blooms only at dawn, death becomes radiant only when your consciousness is awake. The paradox is that those who don't know how to die are precisely those who don't know how to live. For when you avoid death, you are also avoiding life. What is true living? It is living each moment as if it were the last. It is loving as if you have nothing left to lose. It is breathing as if each breath is a gift. But you cannot do that if you fear death, and you will always fear death if you do not accept it. So the first thing I teach those who come to meditate with me is not how to live, but how to die. I teach them to look death in the eye, to feel it, to embrace it. When they do that, a miracle happens. They begin to live for the first time. Imagine you are walking a tightrope with no safety net, a deep abyss below. Every step is a matter of survival. That is how people live when they remember that death is always present. They don't waste time on meaningless things. They don't play the "I'll live tomorrow" game. They live right now, fully, deeply, intensely. If you live like that, death is no longer an enemy. It becomes a companion. It comes not to ruin the party, but to bring the music to a beautiful close. You will smile at death, just as Zen Master Jamoto did when he meditated and left his body in silence, without a single sigh. People ask me, "Do you believe in life after death?" I say, no. I don't believe in anything, but I asterisk no asterisk because I have died many times in meditation. You can experience death without the body dying. You fall into an infinite void where there is no I, no thoughts, no emotions, only pure presence. That is true death and also true life. Death is not merely a biological event, it is a spiritual door, but society has made it a taboo. They don't allow you to prepare. They don't teach you how to die. They act as if by not talking about it, it won't happen. And so, you grow up amidst a grand deception that you are immortal, that you have time, that tomorrow will always be there. The truth is, there is no tomorrow, only the present. And this present moment could be your last. When you understand that, you begin to live differently. You stop procrastinating, calculating, pretending. You live more rawly, more genuinely, and with full emotion. You touch life with bare hands, without gloves, without masks. But no one teaches you that. Schools teach you equations. Religions teach you how to get to heaven. Doctors teach you how to live long. But who teaches you how to die? No one. And so, when death comes, you panic, you resist, you beg, you die like a victim. But death is not a robber. It is a silent lover who has waited for you your entire life. I once had a disciple, an 84-year-old woman dying of cancer. She asked me, "What should I do now?" I told her, "Do nothing. Just sit there, breathe slowly, and observe. Watch everything leave your body, sensations, memories, thoughts, and retain only one thing, awareness." She followed my instruction, and I was there when she passed away, without tears, without struggle, just a gentle smile like a fleeting breeze. You can die like that if you have lived like that. But to do so, you need practice. You need to learn the art of dying just as you learn the art of living. That is why I do not teach meditation for relaxation or stress reduction. I teach meditation as a preparation for death. Every time you sit still, close your eyes, and turn inward, you are practicing dying. You are leaving your body, your thoughts, your ego, and if you practice long enough, you will no longer be afraid. Look at how Zen masters die. They don't die, they depart. They choose the day and time, settle everything, smile, close their eyes, and withdraw from the world. No noise, no tragedy, no fear. Only a sense of completion. Can you live like that? Can you walk through life as if you're strolling through a garden, enjoying everything but clinging to nothing? You can eat, love, cry, sing, fight, but never forget that you are merely a transient wanderer. If you can do that, you will begin to see death everywhere not as a monster, but as a subtle beauty. A falling leaf, a sigh, a late afternoon breeze. Everything is dissolving, and it is precisely this dissolution that makes them sacred. I have not come to tell you that death is good. I have come to show you that if you are silent enough, deep enough, honest enough, death is no longer something you endure. It is something you can participate in, like a ritual, like a feast, like a final meeting with yourself. And when you meet yourself at that ultimate point, you realize there is no one there, no I, no name, no form, only emptiness. But it is not a cold void, it is a full emptiness. It is like a cloudless sky, like an ocean without waves, like the silence after a piece of music, where you realize the music is not only in the notes but also in the silence between them. And that is what death brings, absolute silence. And if you are familiar with that silence, if you have touched it in meditation, then death will be a homecoming, not an end. Sometimes I observe children, they play with death without knowing it. They lie down pretending to be dead, they play ghosts. They throw doll bodies into the river and laugh loudly. They are not afraid because society has not yet trained them to be afraid. In their eyes, death is just another part of the game, like living. And that is the truth. We once knew that until adults stole it from us with fear. They say, "Don't think about death," as if you would invite it. Don't utter the word, as if it were an impurity. But death does not come because you think about it, nor does it avoid you because you don't name it. It is there, whether you deny it or acknowledge it. And it is your refusal to look at it that makes it more terrifying. When a child asks, "What is death?" how do you answer? You say Grandma and Grandpa went to heaven. You invent paradise and angels. You paint a gentle picture to soothe your own fears. But the child knows you are lying. They sense your evasion, your awkwardness, and then they learn to avoid it just like you. I do not advocate for stuffing metaphysical ideas into children's heads. I simply want them to be free to touch the truth, including the truth of death. Let them see a dead bird. Let them cry, ask questions, touch its body, and then be silent. In that silence, something strange will happen, awareness. And if you dare to do that with yourself, if you dare to sit alone in a dark room, close your eyes and ask, "How will I die?" you will feel a cold breeze pass through you, not from the window, but from within. That is death gently tapping on your consciousness, as if saying, "I am here, I am always here." Let that feeling spread. Don't run away, don't turn on the lights, don't turn on music, just sit still. And then you will hear your heart beating to a very different rhythm, no longer regular. It knows you are facing something, and perhaps in just a few seconds you will fall into an unexpected silence. I call that moment living death. You are not yet dead, but you are living death, and that is the greatest meditation you will ever know. People think dying means losing everything: family, friends, body, possessions, but what you truly lose is the ego, and that ego is never real. It is a dream you carry from birth, woven from your name, gender, nationality, title, opinions, memories. When death comes, it rips it all apart, and what remains is not you, but pure presence. That's why I say death doesn't steal you from life. It steals the illusion that you are someone in life, and that is the greatest gift. Imagine you are a drop of water, believing yourself separate. You fear the ocean because it is too vast, too anonymous. But then one day, you fall into it and realize you were never separate. You are the ocean. Death is like that. It doesn't take you away, it breaks you open to see that you were never divided. When you see that, you no longer need answers about what comes after death. You don't need heaven, hell, reincarnation, or salvation. You only need one thing: complete presence right now. Because now asterisk is the only door to eternity, and death is not at the end of the road, as people think. It is present in every moment you lose awareness. Every time you live like a machine, that is a small death. Every time you don't feel your breath, that is a death. But if you live awake, then even when the body dissolves, asterisk, you do not dissolve. You become the silent, motionless, lucid witness, and that witness never dies. And then there will come a day when your body begins to let go. It might be in your sleep, or after an illness, or after many years of quietly preparing the way. You will feel everything slip away, your breath lighter, your heartbeat slowing, your limbs growing cold. But if you have meditated, you will not panic. You will recognize the process as a ritual being completed. You won't ask, why? You won't cling to anyone, won't call out any names. You will simply observe, as you once observed your breath, as you once observed your emotions. And in that observation, something extraordinary happens. You feel free. You understand that you are not being killed, you are asterisk being allowed to die. That is what society has never told you. Death is not a severing. It is a liberation from form, from history, from habits, from roles. You are no longer a mother, a father, a lover, a writer, a victim, a hero. You are simply nothing. And it is in that nothingness that you begin to see everything. You see that you once wore many faces. You were a child, an adolescent, a heartbroken lover, a greedy person, a seeker. And now all those faces fall away. You are the empty space where all faces once came and went, and that empty space, without boundaries, without a center, is precisely who you are. Then there is nothing to hold on to, nothing to regret, no one to forgive, no one to resent. All dissolves like a dream after a long night, and you realize life is a dream, and death is the alarm clock. And so you awaken. You awaken into an existence without a name, without time, without a hiding place. You are nowhere and everywhere. You are no longer within the body, yet still present. You are the wind blowing through the leaves, the light shimmering on the water, the heartbeat of the cosmos. People will say you have died. They will engrave your name on a tombstone. They will recount your life, cry, remember, light incense. But if they truly feel, they will see that you have gone nowhere. You have dissolved into life itself, like a grain of salt dissolving into the ocean. Ultimately, death is unification. No longer I and the world, no longer inside and outside, no longer the seer and the seen, only pure, unattached seeing. This is what all religions have tried to describe but failed. This is what Zen masters have chuckled about without speaking. This is what poetry touches upon but cannot fully express. This is what silence knows and words can never grasp. So, when you live, live as if you have already died, and when you die, die as if you were never born. Because birth and death are merely two beats in an endless breath. And you, if you are awake enough, are that very breath. Do not prepare for death as people prepare luggage. Prepare as if you are shedding everything, layer by layer, illusion by illusion, until only your naked, nameless, fearless self remains. That is when death comes like an old friend. No fuss, no panic, no lament, just a loving gaze. I have waited for you for so long. And you smile. Me too. Everyone thinks they fear death, but in truth, they don't know what they fear. Death is something no one has ever experienced and lived to tell about. You cannot say you fear something you have never known. So where does the fear come from? It comes from the unknown, from the darkness, from the void where all control is stripped away, from the very possibility that you will no longer be you. It is not the fear of death, but the fear of dissolution. Imagine you are standing before a door. You know that once you pass through it, you will never return. You don't know what lies beyond. You cannot take anything with you, no loved ones, no identity, no voice, no memories. You can only bring silence, and that is what frightens you. But if you pause long enough before that door, without fleeing, without dreaming of heaven or reincarnation, but simply looking into the unknown, something strange will happen. You will begin to feel relieved. The burden you call I, the attachments, desires, and roles begin to fall away. You realize that perhaps this is not an end but an unnamed beginning. I offer no answers. I have no belief system. I don't say whether there is an afterlife or not. I only say one thing: death is a journey into the unknowable. And if you dare to walk with open eyes, you will find it is not as terrifying as you imagine. It may be the freest journey you will ever take. Why? Because for the first time, you are no one. And when you are no one, you are unlimited. You are no longer defined by your profession, gender, religion, or fears. You remain as you truly are: presence without form, without center, without beginning, without end. This is only frightening if you have never lived as a free person. But if you have lived each day as if it were your last, if you have loved as if there were no tomorrow, if you have meditated as if there was nothing left to hold on to, then you will realize death takes nothing away. It only takes away what is not you. People ask me, what is there after death? I smile and say, if you don't know what there is while you're alive, you certainly won't know more when you're dead. They don't understand. They want certainty. They want a map. But how can you have a map of a land that doesn't belong to space and time? Therefore, the only thing you can do is prepare, not by packing a suitcase for a journey, but by preparing yourself through daily letting go. Let go of one more thing: an expectation, a fear, an idea about yourself. And at some point, you become light as the wind, ready to fly away without falling. I have seen people die like that, not dying, but dissolving into the void like snowflakes melting into the air. No trace, no pain, no regret. That death is not an end. It is the culmination of a life fully lived. And that is what I call a beautiful death. Not because it is easy, but because it is conscious, because that person knows and does not cling. Can you die like that? Can you look at death and say, I have waited for you, without fear, without resistance? I have lived, and now I am ready to go. If you can, then death is no longer a mystery. It becomes an intimate friend. I once heard a man say, if I were certain that heaven awaits after death, I wouldn't be afraid. And I asked him, are you certain about tomorrow? He shook his head. Then why do you continue to live without fear? He had no answer. Humans always demand guarantees. They want a contract with death. They want to know that if they do the right thing, believe the right dogma, they will be rewarded after death. But death is not a reward or a punishment. It is simply a transition, like shedding an old layer of skin or like a snake leaving its shell. And like the snake, you take nothing from the old skin with you. You cannot take your bank account, your reputation, or even your memories. Everything is left behind. And the only thing that goes with you is you asterisk. But who are asterisk you? That is the question death forces you to confront. And if you have never asked yourself that question while alive, you will panic at the moment of death. You cling to everything you can: your name, your loved ones, your life story. But they slip through your fingers like water. Therefore, I say, don't wait until death to start asking questions. Start right now. And the first question is, who am I? You are not the body, for the body changes daily and will eventually decay. You are not thoughts, for thoughts come and go and you cannot control them. You are also not emotions, for they are like waves, sometimes surging, sometimes calm. So what are you? You are the awareness of all these things. You are the witness, the silent observer, the one who knows there is a body, knows there are thoughts, knows there are emotions, but is not identified with them. And that very awareness is what does not die. The more you live in awareness, the more transparent death becomes. You no longer see it as a cliff, but as a doorway, no longer as darkness, but as a dazzling light that your eyes are not yet accustomed to. You understand that death is not loss, but opening to a dimension that the mind cannot comprehend. Because the mind operates within space and time, and death occurs beyond those boundaries. The mind shrinks, panics, creates all sorts of images and hypotheses. But if you can transcend the mind, through meditation, through silence, through presence, then you begin to feel something immense. I call it the abyss of silence, a bottomless, boundless, nameless space, where you no longer know who you are, but you no longer need asterisk to know. You do not exist as an entity, you are existence itself. And that is what enlightened ones alluded to when they said they no longer feared death. Not because they knew what came after death, but because they died in parts every day, dying to the ego, dying to concepts, dying to definitions. And from that death, they were reborn no longer as a person, but as pure life. You can also live like that, but it requires courage, because it demands that you let go of everything that ever made you feel safe. Identity, achievements, roles. You will feel as though you are dissolving, but it is precisely then that you truly begin. Try living one day as if you are nobody. No name, no past, no expectations. Only this moment, only this breath. And if you can do that, even for just 1 minute, you will taste what people call immortality, not the immortality of the body, but the immortality of consciousness. Death cannot touch that. One winter morning during a meditation session, I sat with a middle-aged woman whose husband had just died in a sudden accident. She came not to meditate, not to understand death. She came because the pain was too great to bear alone. She asked me, "How can you speak so calmly about death as if it were a gift? It just took away the one I love." I looked into her eyes and said, "It didn't take him away, it only took his form." The deepest, most essential part cannot be touched by anyone, not even death. People suffer when someone dies not just because of the loss, but because they have never learned to love without possessing. We think love is holding on, but true love is letting go. When you love someone, you must be ready for them to die. You must love them so much that you don't need their physical presence for that love to continue burning. And this only happens when you understand that death does not separate, it only makes things invisible. If you truly love someone when they die, that love doesn't extinguish. It merely changes form. It is no longer a hug, a touch, a voice. It becomes a wordless presence. You feel them in the light, in the scent of the wind, in your dreams. They become a part of the air you breathe. And if you are silent enough, you will know they never leave. But to know that, you need to step out of the realm of raw emotions. You need to transcend grief to touch the essence. Grief is real, but it is only the first layer of mist. Behind it is stillness, and in that stillness, you meet the departed not through memory, but through pure perception. That's why I always say, death is a great lesson, not just for the dying, but for the living. It teaches you that everything can end suddenly, that you own nothing, that nothing is permanent except change. And if you learn that lesson, you will live differently. You will say, "I love you," the moment you want to say it. You will forgive when your heart tells you to. You will look at someone a little longer, hold their hand a little tighter, listen a little deeper, because you know there might not be a next time. Death teaches you that every moment is precious, that life is fragile, and that if you don't live fully, you are wasting a miracle. And that is why I do not see death as a tragedy. The tragedy is living without realizing the wonder of every single moment. Death is merely a mirror. It reflects you back, uncovered, unpretending. And in that mirror, you see yourself more clearly than ever before. Therefore, whoever dares to look at death, dares to ask difficult questions, dares to sit alone in the darkness, is the one who has begun to truly live. You don't need to wait until cancer, an accident, or old age comes knocking. You can start today. Sit down, close your eyes, imagine you will die tomorrow, not to be afraid, but to awaken. Look back at what you are doing with your life. Are you living according to what you truly believe? Are you loving someone you haven't dared to confess to? Are you burying your head in things you know are meaningless, just to avoid the silence? That silence is the gift death brings. It is not just an end, but clarity. And if you are brave enough to step into it, you will no longer want to live half-heartedly. Once a student asked me, "Can we prepare for death like preparing for a journey?" I replied, "Not only can you, but you must. But you cannot carry luggage, there is no round-trip ticket, and the destination is something you have never imagined." Some people think they prepare for death by reciting scriptures, chanting, or doing charity. But truly, those are just forms. Real preparation begins when you dare to let go, layer by layer, the ego, control, beliefs, and instead embrace pure presence completely with each living moment. This is not a task you undertake in old age. You begin when you are healthy, when there is no reason to think about death, because then you have enough stillness to observe it not with fear, but with curiosity. You don't fear someone you know well. Death is the same. Think of a friend you haven't seen for many years. On reunion day, you are excited but not afraid because you once knew them. You remember their eyes, their laughter. Death can also be such a friend if you have sat with it, conversed with it in meditation, quietly felt its presence without running away. And when you do that long enough, you realize one thing: fear is not in death. It is in resistance. The more you resist, the more you suffer. The more you accept, the freer you become. Look at those who are dying but have let go. In their eyes, there is an inexpressible light, not physical light, but an inner clarity, as if they see something that the living cannot, A door is slightly ajar, and through it, they do not see an end but an infinite expansion. That is not fantasy. It comes from absolute moments when the mind quiets, when the ego dissolves, and you are left as pristine witnessing. And that is what meditation brings. It does not promise you immortality. It does not say you will go to heaven. It simply helps you contact the deepest layer of yourself, where death cannot touch. So when you meditate every day, you are not just living better, you are dying better. And when death comes, you realize, I have waited for you like a lover waiting for a soulmate. You don't beg for more time. You don't ask to be resurrected. You have no regrets because you have already lived. Not lived like most people do, but lived truly. You have smelled the rain as if for the first time, looked into someone's eyes and seen the entire universe, sat in silence and heard your heart beat like an ancient song, touched life without needing to possess it. And for someone who has lived like that, death can do nothing to them. Because death only comes to close the door of form. That person has already left the house long ago. And if you ask me what is the greatest achievement in life, I will not say enlightenment, nor fame, nor omnipotence. I will say the greatest achievement is to be able to die consciously, without fear, without resistance. As if you have just completed a beautiful piece of music so perfectly that no more notes are needed, and you place the final rest, and smile, and dissolve. Every journey has milestones, not to mark how far you've come, but to give you an opportunity to pause, be still, and look at yourself. The spiritual journey is the same. There are moments when, if you are aware enough, they will shatter the world you once knew. And in that fracture, you see what you have never seen, emptiness. I call it immersion in the void. It is not like depression, it is not like despair. It is a terrifying stillness where everything you once clung to dissolves, meaning, goals, identity. You are no longer anything, and the world is no longer the same. You look at a leaf without knowing its name. You hear a bird's song without thinking bird. You see yourself as if for the first time. That is a sacred moment, but if you are not guided, you will run away. You will try to find feelings again, try to name, try to define. You will fear that emptiness because it is unlike anything you have ever known. It is too vast, too silent, too real. But if you are brave enough to sit with it, to breathe in that unknowing, then a miracle happens. You begin to feel life without needing a name. You begin to know by not knowing. And it is in that very emptiness that a fullness appears, not something that comes from outside, but something inherently present. That is the first milestone, the fall into the void. No one talks about it in courses, no one praises it, but no one crosses the threshold of enlightenment without falling into it at least once. It is a storm that sweeps away all illusions, and if you survive it without turning back, you are no longer the old person. The second milestone comes when you realize that pain is a gateway, pain as meditation. We always run from pain, physical, emotional, psychological, any kind. We take medicine, pray, scream, deny. But if just once you sit down and say, all right, I won't run, then a door opens. Let the pain be present without judgment, without naming it. Just sit with it like a long-lost friend returning. You will feel it twitch, shriek, try to pull you from your seat. But if you hold firm, not as stubborn resistance, but as presence, the pain will reveal its true face, a wisp of smoke. Pain is not the enemy. It is a call. It is an alarm clock. And when you look at it without fear, it becomes meditation. It draws you into depths you normally cannot reach. It shatters the mundane. It makes you see life with a vividness that joy cannot provide. And then one day, you realize pain is the gift you once cursed. I once guided a man meditating with a cancerous tumor eating into his bones. He was in such pain he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, only groaned. I didn't give him medicine, nor did I tell him to be strong. I told him to let the pain become a rhythm. Breathe with it, don't resist. Become asterisk it. 3 days later, he was silent not because the pain was gone, but because he was no longer the one resisting the pain. He was the witness, and from then until his death, he felt no more pain, even though the tumor was still there. You don't believe it? That's fine. But if one day you are pushed into a corner with no other way out, try it. Let the pain swallow you. You will see it does not devour you. It only teaches you a lesson that joy cannot. And when you have sat long enough with the pain, when you no longer call it an enemy, when you begin to feel the silence behind the groans, then something else happens. You begin to let go. I call that milestone, let it happen. Let everything happen. We are taught to control emotions, control thoughts, control others, control even ourselves. Every system is built to help you grasp the steering wheel. But the truth is that steering wheel is not connected to any wheels. You imagine you are in control while reality is unfolding in its own way. And one day you grow weary, you sit down, you stop trying. You simply sit and breathe and let what is happening happen without resisting, without interfering, without turning it into a problem. And then you see the beauty begin. Life does not need your control. Life knows how to balance itself, heal itself, move through. Everything you ever did only made it more complicated, like a clumsy child trying to fix a watch. You broke the hands, lost the screws, tangled the springs, while the only thing needed was to let go and observe. You see a drop of water fall, and for the first time, you don't think anything. You see a tear fall from your cheek, and you don't wonder why. Everything just happens, and you are there like the sky, uninvolved, unanalyzing, unjudging. And in that space, you reach another milestone, be total with death. Not that you are about to die, not that someone has just passed away, but that you feel death as a living presence within you. As if there is a dark, meditative, gentle space in your chest, waiting for you to sit down and share a cup of tea with it. Death is no longer distant, no longer a concept. It is here, not as a lurking enemy, but as a soothing, silent shadow. You no longer tremble when you think of it. You no longer say, "I'm not ready." You begin to understand that death is the pinnacle of life. Without it, life is a piece of music without a stopping point, and then it becomes grating. Death is the final punctuation. And if you have lived like a poem, you will want a perfect, gentle, beautiful full stop, like a silent note. No sigh, no regret, just a pause and the self dissolving into eternal silence. You don't learn that in school, you don't hear it in religious sermons. You only learn it when you have let go, breathed into the pain, stopped controlling, and then realized that everything is okay even if you do nothing. And here you encounter the next milestone, one of the greatest: go. Let go completely and let the sacred do the rest. But the sacred here is not an almighty deity out there. It is the reality that operates when you stop interfering. It is the life force flowing through every cell when you do not obstruct the current. It is what happens when you cease being the director and become the audience, sitting silently in the cosmic cinema. You no longer ask, "What should I do?" You begin to ask, "What does this want me to listen to?" You no longer plan. You listen to the rhythm of life. And that rhythm of life is what people once called God, Tao, Dharma, the self. And when you let that operate, you feel yourself lighten, no longer pressured to do things right, no longer afraid of making mistakes, no longer trying to control the uncontrollable. You are simply like flowing water, like wind, like light hand that is the milestone of absolute emptying. And then you begin to touch the strangest thing of all. The witness is deathless. The witness never dies. All your life, you thought you were the body, that when this physical form dissolved, you would also vanish. Or you thought you were a soul, a vague light that would go somewhere after death. But then, through meditation, through silence, through all the milestones you have passed, you realize you are not the body, nor are you the soul as people conceive it. You are asterisk witnessing, and that witnessing is never born, never dies. It comes from nowhere, goes nowhere. It simply is asterisk, silently like the sky. You begin to recall moments when you saw this without knowing you were seeing it, like when you were absorbed in a sunset forgetting time, like when you sat quietly listening to the rain and suddenly felt a deep, causeless peace, like when you loved someone so much that you dissolved into them and there was no I and you in those moments. The witness revealed itself. And when you realize that this witness is you asterisk, not yours asterisk, but you yourself, then you cannot die anymore. Because what can die? Not you, only the layers of clothing, the names, the forms, the pure seeing, that cannot be destroyed. From then on, death becomes a game. Not a cheap game, but a ritual. You see it as a final act. You step into the role one last time with all its beauty and humor, and you exit the stage in silence. No regret, no fear, no clinging. Here you can begin deeper practices, specific doors to touch the witness. I call them techniques, but they are not techniques as people imagine. They are ways to slip out of the ego, to turn inward, to awaken the seeing. Start with the simplest method, accepting pain as it is asterisk. Sit down. Don't change your posture, don't try to soothe it, just feel the pain that is present, physical or mental. Treat it like a guest you neither invited nor are trying to dismiss. You simply open the door. And when you do that, the pain transforms. It becomes a powerful current of life, no longer pain, but a sharp presence. The next step, asterisk entering the pain asterisk. Don't stay outside. Don't observe from afar, become asterisk the pain, as if you are the smoke curling in your chest, as if you are the wordless scream. Don't analyze, don't compare, don't label, just dissolve into it. And in that moment, you will pass through it not by eliminating it, but by moving through asterisk it. The next technique, asterisk don't be the sufferer asterisk asterisk. Don't be the observer, be the pain itself. And then, strangely, you find yourself disappearing. And if you disappear yet still have awareness, what remains is the witness. I taught this to a meditator who had suffered from neuralgia for many years. He came hoping meditation would stop the pain, but I didn't teach that. I told him to meditate to see who was hurting. 6 months later, he wasn't cured of his illness, but he no longer felt pain because the sufferer was no longer believed to be real. There are other techniques, such as asterisk twice noticing asterisk asterisk. You see an emotion, a thought, a mental twitch, and you say inwardly, anger, anger, worry, worry, desire, desire. You don't analyze, you just note it, repeating it twice, and you will see a gap. And in that gap, the witness emerges. And if you practice more, you will reach a deeper realm where techniques dissolve, and only pure presence remains, where you are no longer the meditator, no longer the experiencer, no longer someone trying to achieve something. You become complete witnessing, and in that moment, death has no grip. You can try stopping the senses asterisk asterisk not by closing your eyes, blocking your ears, or sitting still, but by allowing all senses to function, yet not following them. You see, but are not pulled into the image. You hear, but do not chase the sound. You touch, but are not entangled with the sensation. And then, when you no longer react, the senses slow down, the world quiets, and what remains is you, like a still point in the midst of a moving cosmos. And from there, you open up to depths that only patient practice can lead to. Humming Om, let the hum come not from the throat, but from the belly. An Om sound, gentle and resonant, not for any purpose or to achieve any state, but simply to vibrate, dissolve, and merge. You are the sound, and the sound is no longer you. Completing unfinished business asterisk asterisk. Everything you've left hanging, avoided, or hidden, close it. A long overdue apology, a conversation, an item to return, a relationship that needs closure. Death tolerates no unfinished business, and a truly living person carries nothing half done. Deep breath asterisk. A deep breath, once in, once out, without effort, without adjustment. Just the most primal, essential sound of life passing through you. Breathe as if it's your last breath. Breathe as if you have nothing left to hold on to, and you will see that in the very breath you dissolve. Disappearing, sit in a dark room. No light, no sound, no movement, and you begin to become absent. You don't think anything, don't try anything, don't do anything. And layer by layer, what you once called I begins to disintegrate until nothing remains. Yet you still asterisk no asterisk, and that knowing doesn't come from anyone. It just is asterisk, like a fire without a source. Chanting Om asterisk asterisk. Repeat the sound Om as a call that needs no reply. This Om is not a sound, but a vibration. You repeat it until there is no one left to repeat it, only Om filling everything, and you within it, nameless, formless, without history. Life on death asterisk. The two sides of the same coin. No need to choose a side, just flip the coin, see both, and realize you are neither side. You are the metal that makes the coin. Experience beyond the body asterisk asterisk. Not a mystical experience, just realizing that when you feel yourself, you don't feel skin, flesh, or bones. You feel a point of light, formless, placeless, just pure awareness. Blue light meditation. Close your eyes and imagine a blue light radiating from your heart. Not to heal, not to see anything miraculous, but just to sit there and let that light become the rhythm. At some point, you no longer distinguish between the light and yourself, and you dissolve into a gentle vastness. Float, dissolve, be asterisk asterisk. No more techniques, no more guides, no more you. Only the event that is happening, without resistance, without control. Like a leaf on the water, you float, and when you float long enough, you dissolve. And when you dissolve, you are no longer a drop of water. You are the ocean. Feel as if every day, live each day as if you are about to die, not to worry, but to awaken, to be clear, to not procrastinate. And then one day, when death truly comes, you will smile. I have lived as if every day was the last. Now I only complete what remains. The immortal asterisk. The immortal is not one who does not die, but one who is no longer identified with anything that can die. And you, if you realize that, you are the immortal, even when this body dissolves. Breathing out, breathe out as if you will never breathe in again. Each breath is a farewell. Breathe out and disappear. And in each breath, you practice dying, practicing being no one. The body burning asterisk. Imagine your body burning. Not in painful flames, but burning like a ritual, each part falling away. Hair, skin, bones, everything dissolves in silence. You are there, watching. And when nothing is left to burn, you still remain like a pure flame. The world burning, the world burns. Everything you ever knew, cities, faces, memories, ideas, dissolves into fire. No more names, no more maps, only ashes. And from within those ashes, a new life arises, undefined, boundless. There's one thing no one teaches you: how to say goodbye. You learn how to welcome, but no one teaches you how to let go. You are taught how to love, but not how to release. And so, when someone you love is about to depart, you panic, you cling, you burst into tears. You seek doctors, shamans, prayers, miracles, anything just to delay the inevitable. But perhaps what the dying person needs most is not clinging, but a complete gaze, a steady hand to hold, a non-panicked presence. Perhaps what they need is someone who dares to stand by them in wordless silence and say with their eyes, "I know and I am here." If you have ever been beside someone who is dying, you will know that feeling. Time slows down, there's nothing left to do, nothing left to say, only the space between two people. One is leaving, one is staying, and silence connects those two worlds. But what can you do in that moment? You can simply be present. That's all. Don't try to make them happy, don't try to give them hope, don't say things you don't believe. Just sit there, breathe with them, hold their hand so your eyes don't say, "Don't go," but rather, "If you must go, go peacefully." That is the greatest gift you can give the dying, a fearless presence, because they are entering the unknown. And if you panic, you are pulling them back, you are clinging to them, and they have to tear themselves away. But if you let go, if you open your heart, if you say, "I love you and I allow you to go," then death becomes a gentle farewell. And the strange thing is, you too are healed not afterward, but the very moment you accept the truth. When you stop resisting the death of another, you begin to understand what within yourself is dying, and what within yourself has never been born. Many people ask me, how can I help a dying loved one? And I never answer with techniques. I say, sit with them as if you're about to die. Lower all your walls, let your heart be naked. Don't pretend to be strong, don't hide your tears, but also don't turn it into a tragedy. Just let the truth breathe. A woman once came to me, her 16-year-old son had just died in a traffic accident. She cried out, "He was too young, I can't go on living." I did not comfort her, I did not say he was in a better place. I looked directly at her and said, then let that pain burn away everything untrue within you. Let it kill the pretense, the control, the attachment. And then, from those ashes, perhaps you will know how to live for the first time. People say losing a loved one is the most painful thing. I don't deny that. But it is precisely in that pain that a door opens. If you dare to step through it, not to forget, not to overcome, but to transform, to understand that the person is not lost, only the form is lost, then love, if it is true love, has never been touched by death. But to see that, you must go through the darkness. You must sit with the pain like a friend. You must stop looking for shortcuts, no religion, no dogma, no hope. Just sit down, breathe, and feel the emptiness until you see that emptiness is not a loss, but an expansion. And then you realize something quiet yet more powerful than any philosophy. The death of the other has opened a door within you. A part of you also dies with them, not to be lost, but to be shed. Like dry skin peeling away to make room for new skin, like an old story reaching its end so that a pristine silence can begin to write anew. Death does not take anyone from you. It takes away the illusion that that person belongs to you, that you need them to be yourself. It takes away dependence, clinging, reliance, and leaves behind the only thing that truly exists deeply between two souls. Nameless, formless, without memory. I was once beside a man when his wife passed away. She lay there, silent like a fallen leaf. He held her hand without letting go, not crying, not speaking, only his soft breath in the air. And when she took her last breath, he bowed his head, placed his lips on her forehead, and whispered, "You go first, I will meet you on the other side." Not as husband and wife, but as two drops of light falling into the same stream. That was not sorrow, that was mature love. When you mature with death, you are no longer someone who merely loses someone. You become someone opening their heart to impermanence. And the miracle is that you become gentler, deeper, quieter, not because you are weak, but because you know there is nothing left to strive for. People often think presence is about doing something, but true presence is asterisk doing nothing yet still being there asterisk just sitting with someone who is in pain, who is dying, who is breaking open. Not teaching them, not fixing them, not trying to uplift them, but simply being silent like a lake surface so they can see themselves reflected in it. If you have ever been truly present with someone dying, you will understand that you don't need many words. A hand is enough, a gaze is enough. Sometimes just sitting together in silence, not looking at each other, not touching, yet still feeling, I'm not going anywhere. I am here, and I witness your departure as a sacred ritual. And when you do that enough, something else begins to emerge. You no longer fear your own death, because you have seen that death is not as terrifying as people imagine. You have seen people die in peace, in wholeness, in a miraculous light that swept across their faces before they took their last breath. I once saw that light, not with my eyes, but with a profound perception. As if the person had just shed a heavy garment and suddenly became weightless, at ease, empty as if they had just passed through an invisible door and on the other side was not darkness, but absolute clarity. The living think the dead are gone, but if you are subtle enough, silent enough, you will feel their presence not in images, not in memories, but in the very space they leave behind, like an echo after a bell, like a lingering scent in an empty room. And if you sit in that space instead of filling it with sadness, you will begin to touch what that person left behind. Not nostalgia, but pure essence. People often ask me, what should I do after someone dies? I say, do nothing, be silent. Sit with that absence as if it were a new friend who has arrived. Look into the void as if looking into a mirror. And one day you will see your face not as you once knew it, but as the light that once shone through the other person, now shining through you. Sometimes the most painful thing is not that the other person has died, but the things left unsaid. A half-finished embrace, an unspoken apology, a love we kept hidden. And these unfinished matters keep returning like ghosts, not allowing us peace. But there is a truth. You can still speak to them not with your mouth, not with a message, but with a deep presence in your heart. Sit still. Imagine them before you, not their physical form, but the life they once carried. Speak, cry, be silent. Let your heart melt. Let what has been trapped for so long flow away. And then, in some moment, you will find you have been heard not with your ears, but through an invisible wavelength where souls that have loved each other remain connected, despite the separation of space and time. Death cannot break the bond between two beings who have deeply touched each other. It only removes the shell. As for the energy of love, if it is true love, it continues to vibrate like waves long after the ship has sailed away. But you must be patient. You must stop wailing to hear the echo return. You must step beyond personal tragedy to see the larger picture, where death is no longer an enemy, but a part of the cosmic dance. Many people mistakenly believe that if they grieve deeply, they love profoundly. But sometimes excessive pain is merely a sign of non-acceptance. You are resisting the inevitable. You are holding on to the departed with the very threads that wound both you and them. Love with letting go. Remember that person with gratitude, not with guilt. Allow them to truly depart, not just their body, but also from your mind. And when you do that, you too are set free. Someone once asked me, if my child dies too young, do they understand anything about death? I said, perhaps more than you. Because children, if not yet blinded by society, often accept death as a natural part of life. They don't create tragedy. Only adults do that. I once witnessed a 6-year-old girl standing next to her mother's body, without tears, without questions, just a very deep gaze, as if she was looking at something beyond the comprehension of the adults around her. Finally, she took my hand and whispered, "Mama is a star now, isn't she?" I smiled, not because of the sweet question, but because she had touched something that language could never describe. Death is not a lesson for the dead. It is a lesson for the living. The departed have gone, light as a feather. But those who remain, if they know how to look deeply, will begin to see themselves more clearly. They will ask again, how have I lived? Am I loving completely? Am I postponing what needs to be said? Am I living as if I am immortal? And if death makes you begin to live more authentically, then it is no longer a robber. It is an awakener. Every death is a bell ringing in the summer noon, clear and resonant, making you stop. So you no longer run, so you breathe, so you return. Because what death reminds us of is not the end, but the preciousness of everything that is happening. Laughter, voices, the wind rustling through hair, the smell of morning coffee. Each of these small things, when placed under the light of death, suddenly becomes sacred. And when you go deep enough into the experience of loss, you will realize that death does not take away the light. It only dissolves the lamp, the light remains. It spreads into the void, permeates everything. The lost person is still present, not through images, not through memories, but through emotions, intuition moments that seem meaningless but are full of resonance. That is not blind faith. It is a subtle awareness that only those who have sat long enough with pain can reach. Not a struggling kind of grief, but a pain refined like strong wine through many silent seasons. And precisely in those final silent moments, the departing person often has a very strange gaze. They no longer look asterisk at asterisk you, but through asterisk you, as if they are seeing another world flowing in parallel. And sometimes they smile, not for any specific reason, but because they have seen something you have not. If you are present enough, you will feel that, and you will not try to hold them back anymore. You will feel your hand, which you are holding, gradually loosening. Not because you are tired, but because you have understood that true love does not bind, that a proper parting is when nothing remains entangled. The dead do not need your lamentations, they need you to continue living. But live as if they are living with you. They need you to finish the smile they left incomplete, to complete the song they haven't sung, to walk the path they couldn't finish but not out of duty, but out of a ripened love. And when you do that, you not only heal the wound, you become a bridge between the world of life and the world of dissolution. You become the keeper of the flame, not to warm the pain, but to light the way forward. I have seen many people come alive from the very depths of loss, not just getting over it, but living with an entirely different depth. They are no longer hurried, no longer angry about trivial matters. They know that every person they meet, every word they speak, every breath could be their last. And that very knowing makes them fully present. When you are fully present, you don't need to do anything grand to express love. Just a glance is enough, a silence is enough, a nod is enough. You become transparent, like a mirror without a speck of dust, allowing others to see themselves through you. And then one day, when it is your turn to lie down, you will not be afraid, not confused, not regretful. You will close your eyes as if closing a book you have just finished reading and offer a gentle smile. That smile is not for anyone else. It is for yourself, for the entire journey you have lived, and for what is opening on the other side. You don't need to know what lies there, only that you carry no fear. Because where there is no fear, there is light, and you dissolve like a snowflake melting into the air. No trace, no regret, only quiet transparency. Perhaps the strangest thing after finishing a book about life and death is the silence that remains, not a meaningless emptiness, but a deep, profound stillness, as when the stage lights have just gone out and you are still sitting there, not yet wanting to leave. If you have listened to this very last line, I don't want to thank you as a social formality. I want to bow to you, who dared to step into a conversation that many avoid their entire lives. You did not listen to lulling background music, nor to comforting words to deceive yourself. You listened with an open heart and with the courage to venture into dark places without a map. I hope that through each breath, each pause in the words, each gentle breeze of an idea, you have seen something unnameable. And if you have ever fallen into a moment where everything stopped, no more questions, no more answers, only pure presence, then that is precisely what this book wanted to open up. If anything in this journey touched you, please leave a mark. Not for me or anyone else to see, but for you to confirm to yourself that you have walked a path that was not easy, but worthwhile. You can leave a comment, a line of reflection, or even a silent agreement. All of these are precious. And if you carry another book in your heart, a question, a hunger for knowledge, an unspoken concern, please suggest it. I am always ready to open new doors with you, not for entertainment, but to go further, deeper, into things that words can sometimes only evoke but never possess. Because after all, reading a book is not to know more, but to shed more, to shed the artificial, to shed illusions, to shed fear, and what remains is just you, sitting alone in silence, needing nothing more. Thank you for staying and listening. Now goodbye, and until next time.